The first time I saw Ryan Calder's trailer on my land, I figured maybe the man was confused. The second time, I figured maybe he was lazy. By the third time, parked neat as church shoes right under a private property sign, I realized I wasn't dealing with confusion at all. I was dealing with a grown man who thought "not mine" meant free for the weekend. My name's Daniel Whitaker, and this happened in Cedar Ridge, northern Michigan, where most people still understand a basic rule. You don't help yourself to another man's land just because it looks empty. 15 years ago, I bought a small corner lot off Lake Mercer Road. Nothing fancy, just a flat half-acre of gravel and scrub grass near the bend toward the water. Folks asked if I was building a cabin. Maybe someday, I'd say. Truth was, I didn't know yet. Land near the lake kept going up, and owning a quiet piece of it felt smart enough. The lot wasn't fenced, but it wasn't mysterious either. I'd had it surveyed bright orange stakes on the edges, 2 private property signs facing the road. For nearly 10 years, nothing happened there. No dumping, no campers, no trespassing, just gravel, trees, and the occasional deer wandering through like it paid taxes. Then Ryan moved into the blue ranch house 3 doors down. He was the kind of guy who always looked like he was in the middle of a truck commercial, sunglasses, expensive pickup, big cooler, big opinions. We weren't enemies. We just had that neighbor relationship built out of nods and weather talk. Then one Friday evening in July, I drove past my lot and saw a giant white travel trailer sitting on the gravel. At first, I thought it was close to the shoulder. Then I slowed down and saw the tires were well inside my line. The trailer wasn't near my lot. It was on my lot, backed in carefully, like somebody had taken pride in trespassing. Now, land near a lake road gets the occasional harmless stop. Somebody checks a strap, makes a phone call, fixes fishing gear. So I gave it the benefit of the doubt, told myself it was temporary. A week later, same trailer, same spot. I parked, walked the gravel, looked at the hitch, the angle, the scratch along the rear panel. I already knew whose it was. Ryan owned one just like it, so I walked down to his house. He was outside with a beer leaning on his truck. "Evening," I said. "Hey," I pointed back toward the lot. "That trailer down there yours?" "Yeah," he said. "Why?" "Well, that corner lot is mine and your trailer's parked on it." He took a slow sip and shrugged. "It's just gravel, man." I blinked at him. "Yeah," I said, "my gravel." He chuckled like I was being overly technical. Said his driveway was tight, the trailer barely fit, and he figured the edge of that lot wasn't hurting anybody. That line told me everything. Funny how often people say it's not hurting anybody when what they mean is it's hurting you, but I've decided that doesn't count. So I kept it calm, told him I wanted it moved, told him it was private property. He tipped the beer can a little and said, "Sure, no problem." Next morning, the trailer was gone. Then next Friday came, and there it was again. Same trailer, same spot, same smug little angle like it had a reservation. That was the moment the whole thing changed. It stopped feeling like a misunderstanding and started feeling deliberate. Ryan hadn't mistaken my lot for public land. He'd mistaken my politeness for weakness. I didn't go back to his house. My grandfather used to say some folks don't hear words, they hear consequences. So I went home, made coffee, opened my laptop, and started reading Mercer County ordinances. Turns out the county had very clear rules. If a landowner posted visible towing warnings and had an agreement on file with a licensed towing company through the sheriff's office, unauthorized vehicles could be removed at the owner's expense. No argument, no deputy playing babysitter, just signs, paperwork, and a phone call. The second I read that, I stopped being irritated and started being focused. The next morning, I measured the lot frontage, then drove into town to Palmer's Supply. Old man Palmer was behind the counter. "What can I get you, Dan?" "A couple reflective warning signs," I said. "The towing kind." He raised an eyebrow. "Trouble." I shrugged. "Depends how expensive someone wants to make it." 20 minutes later, I walked out with 2 bright red signs that said, "Unauthorized vehicles will be towed at owner's expense." Then I called Iron Hook Recovery. The owner, Marcus Doyle, answered. I explained the situation. He didn't sound surprised. Said it happened more than people think. Said once the paperwork was filed and the signs were up, all I had to do was call. I asked what it would cost to retrieve a trailer that size. Marcus gave a low whistle. For a rig like that, let's just say the lesson won't be free. We filed the agreement with the sheriff's office. That weekend, I set the signs, one facing the road, one near the gravel entry point Ryan liked to use. I also ran a chain across the opening and locked it between 2 steel posts just to make things clear. Then for about a month, nothing happened. No trailer, no vehicles, no drama. Part of me figured Ryan had seen the signs and decided he wasn't that stupid. Then one Friday in September, I was driving home late when my headlights swept across a big white shape. Ryan's trailer was back. Not near the edge this time either. right in the middle of my gravel, sitting maybe 10 feet from the bright red tow sign. And the detail that turned the whole thing from rude to insulting, the chain I'd put across the entrance had been unhooked and laid off to the side. That was the twist. Up until then, maybe somebody could pretend this was sloppy judgment. Not anymore. Ryan hadn't missed the warning. He'd moved it out of his way. I took photos, checked that the sign was visible, and called Marcus. Got one, he asked. 40-foot trailer, I said. Well, inside the line. Be there in 45. That was the calmest I felt all summer. No rage, no nerves, just that quiet feeling you get when a problem finally stops being yours. Marcus rolled in just before dark, tow truck rumbling low through the trees. He stepped out, looked at the trailer, looked at the sign, looked at the chain on the ground, and muttered, "Well, that's bold." He documented everything by the book, then got to work. And I've got to admit, watching a professional hook up a giant travel trailer off your property is satisfying in a way that probably says something ugly about the human soul. Chains, clinking hydraulics, humming metal, locking into place. Every sound said the same thing. Actions have invoices. The trailer lifted slow and steady, rocking once before settling onto the rig. Somewhere 3 houses down, Ryan had no clue his convenient little arrangement was heading to a storage yard by the highway. Within half an hour, Marcus was gone, the trailer rolling behind him into the trees. Then the lot was quiet again. Gravel, birch, warning signs, moonlight. Peace restored by paperwork. The next morning, Ryan came flying up my driveway in that black pickup like a man arriving at a funeral he'd accidentally paid for. I stepped onto the porch with my coffee. "Morning." He ignored that. "Where's my trailer?" I leaned on the railing. "You mean the one parked on my lot?" His jaw tightened. "Yeah, that one." "Well, I said if it was on my lot, it probably got towed." He stared at me. "You're kidding." I pointed toward the road. "There's a sign with the number right on it." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing once across the gravel. "I thought that sign was just, a warning," I said. He stopped and hit me with the line people like him always use once consequences show up. "You could have come talk to me." That made me laugh. "Ryan," I said, "I did talk to you." And there it was silence. Because he remembered. The beer in his hand, the shrug, the sure. "No problem." Then he said it again, the line that started this whole circus. All this over a little gravel. I stepped off the porch and looked him right in the face. "It's not about gravel. It's about the fact that you decided mine was yours whenever it was convenient." That landed. He asked where the trailer had been taken. I told him Iron Hook Recovery by the highway. Then I said the thing I probably enjoyed too much. "You really could have just widened your driveway." He didn't answer, just got back in the truck and left. By Monday, Cedar Ridge was buzzing. Small towns don't need social media when they've got porches and one hardware store. 3 different people asked me if it was true I'd had Ryan's camper hauled off. I told every one of them yes. That evening, Ryan came home from the tow yard, spotted me outside, and walked over. This time he didn't look mad, just tired. Said the tow and storage had cost him $780. I gave a low whistle. "That's a pricey parking space." He almost smiled. Then he said, "Lesson learned." And to his credit, maybe it was. Over the next few weeks, he brought in gravel, rented a skid steer, cut back part of the yard beside his garage, and widened his driveway enough to fit the trailer properly. Took him 3 weekends. After that, the thing never touched my land again. My lot went back to being what it had always been, quiet, empty, and nobody's problem. And maybe that's the part that stayed with me. I used to think patience automatically earned respect. Sometimes it does. But sometimes patience just teaches the wrong person that you can be ignored. Sometimes being decent only works when it's backed by something firmer, a deed, a sign, a contract, a tow truck. Oh, that's not bitterness. It's just one of those late-arriving truths life hands you after somebody smiles at your rights and calls them just gravel. So I'll leave you with this. Was I right to let the tow truck teach the lesson? Or should I have knocked on his door one more time? And if a neighbor kept using your property like it belonged to him? Where would you draw the line between keeping the peace and surrendering your rights? Tell me what you think, and if you've ever dealt with a neighbor who mistook your patience for permission, share that story too.